Hello, everyone. Welcome to Post Game Live with Crystal Score and my special guest, Nick Bondi. Nick, what's up? How's it going?
I'm doing really well, Crystal. It's been a while since we've done something like this, right? Like, I think since you went to Toronto and then came back, it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
I know. I actually haven't even seen you in person since we've been back.
Yeah, no,
This
I
is
think
it.
the last time I saw you in person was right before you left for Toronto, which was I don't
At
even
the
know when that was.
American. We went to the American
Yeah, I
and we
bet
got
that
we
the
had a good
bar on
time.
Main. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Oh, that was so much fun. Yeah, we have to meet up and do this in person when all this stuff
yeah,
calms down a little bit. Because honestly, I'm
definitely.
tired of doing this stuff at home. I know that you do your own podcasting stuff as well, which we're gonna get to.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of screen time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you
So
get really accustomed to Zoom over the past, I guess the
yeah.
past year you've been doing like pretty much exclusively Zoom stuff. So,
Oh my
well,
God, I
it's
know.
part of the job, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So for everybody that's just tuning in right now, Nick and I used to work together at a place called the BC Sports Hub. So basically, they were an online source for all high school sports, BC high school sports, mainly with a big focus on basketball and football. We got to cover some incredible events. We did a lot of tournaments. There were some
Yeah.
long nights. We would spend like 14-hour days doing what was
Oh,
it?
a lot longer than
Football
that.
nationals. Oh my
Longer
God,
than that. It was we would get there at 8:30 and we would leave till probably quarter to 11.
which is crazy.
Which yeah, it was very long and no breaks, no
Nope.
breaks. Games all day through. Pounding back Red Bull.
We'd write like 18 articles a day. Like,
Yes, that's not an exaggeration.
oh my God, I remember the Red Bull situation when we ran out and Jenna didn't want to buy us anymore because we were ripping through it. On the first day, we had like
Yes,
the entire flat of it. It was almost gone. That was great.
she underestimated how much Red Bull we would drink in a day.
I
I think.
know. I know. She did.
And those Red Bull like flats are pretty expensive. Like they're not cheap.
I
Red Bull.
know. But you know what? If you're going to give us Red Bull on the first day, you have to expect that we're going to drink it, especially
Yeah,
when we're
absolutely.
tired and we're covering
Yeah.
all these sports for like what? Hours and hours and hours for 2 weeks straight, which is not fun.
Mhm.
But it was actually really fun. I think it was some of the best times I've ever had. What was
Yeah.
your favorite memory that you have from working at the hub?
Hmm. Like in terms of like events or people or
Just
what are you
anything.
thinking
Like,
here?
what was your biggest takeaway? Like, when you look back on your time at BC Sports Hub, what do you admire most?
I honestly really enjoyed just the like covering amateur like high school basketball. I think it wasn't something I was really familiar with when I started there. Like obviously, like I went to school. I had a high school basketball team. I'd cover like college basketball up at SFU. I worked for a student newspaper there, but I
Mhm.
never played high school basketball. Like my only experience playing high school sports was being that guy on the football team who did stats in his senior year. I was a stat nerd in my senior year. I was the guy making recording tackles, yards per carry, like all that shit.
Yeah,
And I did play football 1 year in grade 8, but won a national provincial championship, by the way.
which is pretty awesome.
Hey, won undefeated and won the ship.
Amazing.
I can honestly say I've never lost a competitive game of football I played in. We went 8-0 and won the provincial title. I almost got interception at BC Place.
That's crazy.
That's my big thing. But I never played like really basketball growing up. I obviously watched it, but
Mhm.
never really played it. But yeah, just getting to experience high school basketball, and you know this as well. Like that, the local high school basketball scene, especially in Lower Man, very tight knit, very
Yeah.
close. Everyone seems to know each other. So getting to be a part of that community was really cool. In terms of moments, I remember North Delta winning the provincial championship back in
Oh, your
2019, and
boy, your boy.
my Siraj here, and he's doing really well down in California right now. But I think the thing that like really struck me about them was, and you did these videos as well, right? You'd always ask them like, "What are your goals for this season?" And usually they would say something like, "Oh, I hope we can win a provincial title or something like that."
Mhm.
And but these guys, when we interviewed, shout out to Yoni as well. Me and Yoni went to
Oh,
Burnaby South. They were playing in a tournament there. We interviewed them after one of their games, and they pretty much said like, if we don't win a provincial title this year, like this whole thing's going to be a failure, and we'll never get over it. We will never get over it winning if we don't win a provincial title this year. And those last two games, the semifinal and the final, out at the Langley Event Center, where all all those games are were wild. Like those two games that ended in like back-to-back buzzer beaters, two of the best basketball games I've ever watched at any level.
Yeah.
And that was a thing as well. Like especially at provincials, like that was some great basketball. Like some of the best basketball I've ever watched was at provincials.
I know. And just the environment of the Langley Event Center, especially for the finals, was so incredible. I just remember walking down there and the stadiums were full. People were going crazy. Like you don't realize how much people appreciate community and high school sports until you physically go and cover an event like that. And I just remember thinking, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. You know,
especially North Delta. When North Delta played, obviously North Delta is really close to the Langley Event Center. So pretty much the entire school was there. And I'm telling you, if North Delta did not win that game, there was going to be some trouble in the stands.
There was going to be a riot.
There was going to be
all over again.
There was going to be some trouble. I remember seeing footage afterwards of like people like getting in fights in the stands, and like it's just like this old stewardess, like she's obviously retired, took a job at the Langley Event Center because she thought, oh, it's going to be an easy job, like no
walk
real
in the park
here. Yeah, easy job, and some guys from North Delta show up. Like it wasn't even like any students. I don't think it was like. You know,
rowdy guys. It was like
just rowdy guys who had a connection to the school and they just want to go again and fight with like some Vernon fans.
Yeah,
which is hilarious. But yeah, no, like those especially like some of the teams that would show up. Like I remember like Vancouver College would always get really rowdy, and of course, like you know, it's an all boys school. I knew a couple of guys who went to VC, and it's a bro fest. So like no doubt you're gonna get rowdy fans when they showed up.
Yeah, of course,
especially for football.
And you got to cover some of the football for that entire season as well too. So talk a little bit about that because I didn't get to do that actually.
Yeah, which is surprising because you're a big football reporter for Sports Illustrated right now. You think they would have realized your talent way back in the day to cover?
You know what? I think football. It was me that was like, it's too cold. I'd rather be inside and watch the games. We had to split. Me and Yoni got the basketball. You and Chris got the football.
And no, that's probably the biggest drawback when you covered football was if it rained, it sucked. Like especially if you have to film a game, you have to worry. When you film basketball, you don't have to worry about getting your camera wet.
No,
but
I know I don't even know how Chris did that. And you brought your camera out for photos too.
Yeah,
I don't know how.
You did garbage bag. It was like I would just use a garbage bag. Like I didn't really have any fancy equipment. Maybe Chris is probably off screen right now, just being like, "What the hell is this idiot doing?" But I'll just use like a garbage bag to be honest. But no, like
whatever
I would say I like the Langley Event Center, but BC Place was obviously cool for provincial finals as well. And the only thing that kind of sucked about BC Place though, compared to Langley Event Center, it was just so much bigger, right? Like BC Place has like 60,000 fans, and like you're not going to get 60,000 fans for a provincial final. So they have like one half of the lower bowl, and one section of one half of the lower bowl. And it just looked out of place, which is why I think Langley Event Center, like a place that size, is perfect for like a high school basketball, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the perfect size. BC Place was a bit too big, but it was obviously cool, like covering BC Place and walking on the field and having our own spot in the press box. I felt like a Big J journalist.
Did they bring Subway there that day too, and you can eat all the Subway you wanted? And
yes.
And stuff?
Yes. They had Subway. It's obviously the Subway Bowl. Of course, they had Subway.
Yeah. So I don't know if I ever told you, I actually got to be a host, an in-arena host.
I remember you telling me this. Yes. I remember this. Yeah.
And I had to do the announcing while they were doing the Subway eating contest. Yeah. And
they didn't have that when I did it last time.
My God, this woman won it, and she was incredible. Like she just met, it was a whole foot long that three people had to sit side by side, and I'm voicing it, commentating as they're going, and this woman just devoured the sub, gone. And it was the funniest thing. And I think I was just laughing hysterically, and I thought to myself, wow, I'm never going to be good at this job. But then, I mean, fast forward a couple of years later, and you get
carve your own path.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she just hoovered up that foot long.
She hoovered it. Yeah.
Sucked it up.
I mean, women are better at something. Anyways, okay, so that was one of my favorite parts too about just covering BC high school sports, was meeting all these amazing characters. I know you had Siraj, he was your guy.
Yeah.
You know who my guy was? Let's say.
Diego Mafia.
Yeah.
He's the guy.
Diego
who scored a 97 or
96.
96, yeah, he scored 96 points in the game.
96 points in one basketball game.
I'm surprised that's still up for debate. I remember at the time, you said 96, someone said 95.
Oh, and then they had on the actual score sheet 96, but then in the locker room they wrote 94 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing, and Diego was very firm. He's like, no, I got 96.
Yeah,
and
I would hope you would
it's 96.
And he got some decent coverage outside of like the local basketball community here. Obviously, when you score 96 points in a game, like you're going to get that. I remember him getting featured on like Overtime and like all the one of those sites.
Too, which was so cool because me and Chris were at that tournament and we missed that game.
I remember.
It was a nothing game. It was like a 7-8.
Yeah, it was like a consolation game for what I remember, right?
It didn't matter, but like Diego just goes off and they kept feeding him the ball. And so I went afterwards and like interviewed him and everything. And it was great to sit down and interview him after the game. But then me and Chris went out for dinner that night and we're watching TV and Sportsnet's on and Diego's just on there. And we're like, what? Yeah. They're literally talking about him on Sportsnet, on national TV. It was just such a cool thing. So out of all the players that you met during our time at BC Sports Hub, who left the biggest mark and why?
I would say honestly, a guy like Siraj. That was just the guy I was closest with, and just mostly for the fact that we covered a lot of their games. We always seemed to get the AAA games, and they had a really good team, and we would always cover them. And he was honestly a super nice guy, super humble. Mm-hmm. Again, like I looked up his stats just recently. It's just a couple of days ago actually, and he seems to be doing well. Obviously, COVID's kind of messed everything up in terms of like his preparation for the season and everything. Yeah, that was a big guy. That made a mark on me personally. I know you have Diego. Like Diego's your guy, but I know you interviewed Karen as well, which was Karen. You did that. I don't think I was there for that story, but I remember hearing.
You were around for the tournaments, and she was always around. And
and then we thankfully COVID didn't really affect last year's tournament, and she got to go in for a couple of games with Terry Fox.
Nice.
They unfortunately, lost in the final, but that was a cool story because, like, obviously she battled cancer, and just again in the game, like it was like I think it was a quarterfinal against I can't remember who, mm-hmm. but like just like everyone was like standing up on their feet clapping. It was a really inspirational moment.
Yeah. Well, she was an amazing kid. She did unfortunately pass away recently. So just condolences to her family. Her mom, Jennifer Kwong, is just like the most amazing human ever. And that whole family. So, I mean, that sucks. Like she battled really hard. She was an incredible person, incredible athlete, but even more incredible person. So I'm really happy that we got the time just to meet people like that out in the community. And I miss that. I feel like once things get back out like to normal, I'd love to just go and cover some games and get ourselves back into the high school scene a little bit and just do our own thing, right? So
like I think there's a lot of like good like pages out there. Like I remember HK2K, I think it was like one. It was just like some local basketball fan when I just like ended BC Sports Hub back in March. Like she was one who she has a good page, and 604 shooters and like all those guys. There's a lot of good like local pages out there that maybe a lot of people don't know about because high school sports just isn't really a thing here compared to like in the States.
Yeah, they get totally overlooked. So, and especially now with COVID and everything, I mean, I would love to go out and cover things, but I just don't think it's allowed. And like some of them aren't even.
There's not even anything going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Going on. Like it's all done.
Yeah. So, I mean, next season, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
We'll pray for next season. Hopefully. Okay, let's get to some Canuck stuff because we could talk about our previous jobs all for like forever, but. Tell me how you became a Canucks fan, because I don't think I actually know the story.
Okay, how I became a Canucks fan is pretty simple. I remember my very first hockey memory. Now, this was when I was about 7, was the 2002 gold medal game, Canada-US. Mm-hmm. That's my very first like general hockey memory. Like I remember, I think it was like my friend's birthday, and what we did for his birthday was we just watch the game. Mm-hmm. That was his birthday. That was his birthday party. Yeah, it was a 5-2 Canada win. Joe Sakic scoring, I think, the game winner, or at least like a pretty big, Burnaby Joe, like the legend, North Burnaby legend, Joe Sakic. Anyways, then I started getting into hockey, and obviously I became a Canucks fan just because that spring was 2002, and they were playing the Detroit Red Wings first round. I remember just like I'm 7, 8 years old. I'm naive. I think the Vancouver Canucks are going to win the Stanley Cup. I'm like, this is the best team ever. We're going to win.
Oh, God.
Marcus Naslund, Todd Bertuzzi, Brendan Morrison, the West Coast Express. Like, we're going to win the Cup. And they face the Detroit Red Wings first round, and they beat them. They beat them first 2 games in Detroit. They're up 2-0. I'm like, all right, we're winning the Cup. Let's go.
It.
Yeah, this is it. And little did I realize at the time that the Detroit Red Wings that year were absolutely stacked, right? If you go look at the roster, like video game level stacked. Dominic Hasek in net, Nick Lidstrom, Chris Chelios on defense, Brendan Shanahan, Luke Robitaille,
Oh my God.
Steve Eiserman, Brett Hall, and a young Pavel Datsuk, Igor Larionov. Like, it's an absolutely stacked team. Of
Yeah.
course, I'm 78 years old. I don't know who these guys are. I'm like, okay, well, like, these guys are scrubs. We're going to win.
Yeah.
We're going to win. We're going to win for sure. And then game 3 happens. They're up 1-0. It's late in the second period. Like, if anyone who's a Canucks fan knows what happens next, Nick Lidstrom shoots the puck. No, sorry, it was a tie game. It was 1-1.
Yeah.
Nick Lidstrom shoots the puck from center ice, goes, I believe, under Dan Kluche's glove, or above Dan Kluche's glove. And I don't remember, but he missed the puck. It goes straight through 2-1. That ends up being the game winner. They win game 3. They lose the next 3 games.
Oh my
So
God.
that was my introduction of being a Canucks fan, just right there. And I remember writing about how I became a Canucks fan. Actually, now you mention it, I was at the Peak, which is the student newspaper SFU. Like, we had this thing we had to do every semester. If you're an editor, you had to write just like the opening page, like, and you could write about everything. And one semester, I just chose to write about how I became a Canucks fan. And
Is this still out on the internet?
This is out on the internet.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So you have to link it to me.
Yeah, no, I'll see if I can search up right now. Actually, now that I mentioned that, yeah, I pretty much laid out that right then and there is how I became what I call a cynical skeptic.
Yeah.
In terms of like the Vancouver Canucks. Like, I distrust all the move management. They're never going to win anything. All based on 7-year-old me seeing Nick Lidstrom score from center ice on Dan Kluche. And that was another defining thing for my childhood too. Like, always thinking like, oh, this is the playoffs. Dan Kluche is going to turn the corner. This is the one.
No.
This is the one who's no.
No, I honestly, I get PTSD when I hear his name because he's the one goalie that I'm like, I don't know. Like, I never really was a fan. I never really was a fan.
And Dan Kluche, from what I've heard, he used to be a goalie coach for the Vancouver Canucks, or part of the Canucks organization. Super nice guy, from everything I've heard.
I'm sure he's nice, I know, but sometimes he just kind of shit the bed when he was in the goalpost. So in between the pipes, you got to step it up, buddy. Be a Luongo.
Yeah. Well, if you look back at those Brian Burke teams, goaltending was the main reason why they didn't really live up to expectations. They have obviously one of the best lines in the NHL. In the West Coast Express, they had a solid defense like Tiasola and Jovanovski, but they just could never figure out goaltending. And that seems to be, if you look at Brian Burke's career in general, that's kind of one of his big things is he can never figure out goals. The only time he won a cup was when he got canned by the Canucks, ends up going to Anaheim, where they have a guy named Jean-Sébastien Giguère, who won the Conn Smythe in 2003, despite losing the Stanley Cup. He's one of the few players to ever win the Conn Smythe while losing the Stanley Cup. He was that good in the 2003 playoffs. And that was the only time he really had a good goalie, was when he went to a team that already had one. Like, he's never been a guy.
He never constructed it himself.
He's never been able to kind of go to a look at his time with the Leafs. Like, he had like Vesa Toskala. Like, that was a big guy. He had probably a worse goal than Dan Kluche. Like, some guy just flips the puck in again. They're playing the Islanders. Some guy flips the puck in. It's like the puck just bouncing all over the ice and just hops right over his glove.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Like, I could have caught that.
Yeah, anyone could have caught that. So, like, this guy, Brian Burke's never been able to find goalies in his career for whatever reason.
Okay, so
sorry for getting off track there.
No,
that's how I became a Canucks fan.
But I mean, okay, I was just gonna say it kind of set you up for like just how it is to be a Canucks fan, right?
Yeah.
Like, at least it didn't disappoint you in the beginning because it was like, oh, let's win something right away, and then the next however many years we're not going to do anything, right? So I just feel like we've gotten close a couple times. Last season was very exciting. I think I felt the best I've ever felt being a Canucks fan, aside from the West Coast Express days and when we were in the finals and everything. But I felt really good about the team. And now there are two members that Calgary has now that I thought these are guys that we need to keep on our team. And now they're playing for the Flames, which is really frustrating. We're going to get to all that. But just from a player's perspective, since you've been a fan, who is your all-time favorite player and why?
See, I want to say the Sedins because it's so easy just to combine them as one player, right? Like, it's Henrik and Daniel Sedin. They play on the same line. They're that twin telepathy. I want to almost just say the Sedins because, like, they're one player, but that's kind of cheating, right? Like, do you think that's cheating if I just said the Sedins?
I think it's honorable, and I think it makes sense because they were basically a unit on the Canucks for how many years? And okay,
since they were drafted, like close to
show
20
us
years.
your shirt that you've got.
This is from the Sedin's last home game, which is by far the best Canucks game I will ever go to. And unless I'm fortunate enough to be at the game where they win the Stanley Cup for the
That's
first
so
time,
cool.
like, I firmly do that. And we were working at BC Sports Hub
Yeah.
together at the same time.
When you walked in the next day with that shirt on, you were so proud. You showed me the sign that you had. The sign was sick. You made
I got on their Snapchat.
You did?
Next Stop Hall of Fame. I got on the Canucks Snapchat with that. Yeah. Next Stop Hall of Fame. Did I ever tell you how I ended up getting the tickets to that game?
I feel like you did, but tell everybody.
Okay, so it's a very interesting story. So back when we were allowed to go to bars, me and my friends used to do bar trivia. Like that was our big thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll go back to that someday. But we used to go to bar trivia, and we're at the Great Bear. If anyone knows where that is, Shadow. It's on Kingsway by Metrotown. We were at the Great Bear doing trivia, and we're just having a few drinks afterwards. And we said like, hey, let's try and go to one last Canucks game before the end of the season. It was just like again like late March, early April, and the season's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And they said hey, well, you can get pretty good tickets, like pretty good price to the last home game against Arizona, which was like early April at some point. And I said it at the time. I said there's a very good chance this could be the Sedin's last home game because Henrik and Daniel Sedin are not the type of players to do the whole like Kobe Bryant RIP like tour, like retirement tour. They're not going to go to every place and like everyone hand them a gift. They're just going to say like one day, that's it, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said that there's a good chance like that could be the Sedin's last home game. So if we want to go to a game, we gotta go. That's the one we gotta go to.
Yeah.
And they ended up announcing on the Monday that they were retiring.
Oh my god! And that was right after you guys already bought it.
Yeah, we bought them on the Friday.
Wow.
So ticket prices just shot up. We bought tickets like upper bowl for like $30, $30 each.
And then what did they go up to?
We could have sold them easily for like $400 or $500 each. But like, there's no way you can sell that. I could not live with myself if I would have been fairly more well off. Would have had $500 more in my pocket.
Yeah.
But how could you? But I could not live with myself as a fan, seeing that last home game and the way it ended. Henrik to Daniel in overtime for the winner.
That gave me goosebumps right now. Like I just got the chill.
Yeah. It's like one of the best moments in Canucks history.
Yeah.
I would say like it's just the way it ended, and yeah, no, I could not live with myself if I sold those tickets. And like, Henrik and Daniel Sedin would be my two favorite Canucks. And what I like about it too is they're really the first true like legends on the team that actually stayed with the team the entire time. Like obviously, like Marcus Naslund was a good player, but he wasn't even drafted by the team. Goes to the Rangers for one last season. Todd Bertuzzi, like obviously part of the Luongo trade. Even a guy like Pavel Bure demanded a trade, got traded to Florida. Even Trevor Linden, like people forget Trevor Linden, like played for Montreal, Washington, the Islanders. And it honestly got like that was a trade I helped get Todd Bertuzzi, but he didn't play his whole career with the Canucks. Henrik and Daniel Sedin did. They played an entire career with the Vancouver Canucks, drafted and then retired as Vancouver Canucks. To me, as a fan, that's special. If you can like start and end your career on the same team.
Oh,
and
for sure. And they wanted to be there, and they loved the city so much. That's what I loved about them. You know what? Sometimes they were very frustrating as players. I always wanted them to be a little more gritty because I like the gritty players. I'm way of more like the defense, like stuff them. But there's something about them, just how they carried themselves off the ice, you know, and how they were with their fans and how they just embraced Vancouver and took it in as their home. I loved that about them. And it was sad. Like I got emotional the night of their retirement night. I was very emotional watching that whole thing.
Same.
Oh my God. Like it just felt like
imagine being in the building. That was like people forget like the Canucks weren't selling out games that season and the season before because they were dog shit. That was the year they ended up, getting the draft pick to get Quinn Hughes. Pretty good pick. But pretty good pick. But like that was like the first full game at Rogers Arena in a number of years, probably since they made the playoffs against the Flames a year earlier. And I had been going to the games just as a fan for those number of years because you always get good tickets. You always get like dirt cheap $30 tickets like we did for that game against Arizona.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you can always get dirt cheap tickets. And yeah, that was the first like to be in that for like a full house and the way it ended, like I wouldn't trade that memory for for pretty much anything. Again, best game I will ever go to, unless I'm at the game where they win the Stanley Cup. That's the only way it could be topped.
Yeah. Oh my God. You know what? If we could witness a Stanley Cup in our lifetime, I think that would be like the second best thing that could happen in my lifetime.
Yeah. Don't hold your breath.
I'm not.
Hold
My
your
dad,
breath.
when I was younger, he's like, don't waste your time on this team. They're never going to bring it home for us.
Yeah.
Like, join the club, you know?
I think my dad said something similar too.
Ugh.
My dad admits now. He's like, I'm a bandwagon fan. And you know what? Honestly, respect. Like, at least you admit you're a bandwagon fan. You're not someone who's saying, like, oh, I'm watching every game, still a fan. He straight up admits, like, call me when they're good again.
Yeah. Oh, I know. My dad's
this is
kind
a
of
guy,
the same.
and this is a guy I used to go to games with all the time. He's like, you know what? Yeah, call me when they're good again. I'll watch the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Honestly, I wish I could be at that level, just like that much disconnect with the Canucks. I'd probably be a lot.
You know, like
senior.
give it like 20 years, you know, and we add a couple more like heartbreaks in our lifetime, and then we'll kind of get to that point too. Where we're like, you know what, we're over it.
Yeah, one more Game 7 Stanley Cup loss, and yeah.
No more riots,
disconnect.
though. No more riots. You know,
I was there. I was there, man. It was wild time.
I got
Wild
out right in time. Somebody flipped the car, and I was like, "Get me out of here!" And then we got back on the SkyTrain, and I was watching everything from home.
So see, I was 17 years old at the time. I was with my good buddy. I was with my good buddy at the time, and we were only two down there because my high school had the big chemistry exam.
Oh my God!
The next day, so everyone stayed.
You're in high school. Okay, I was 19 at the time. That's funny.
I was in high school. I was in grade 11 at the time. Yeah, and I didn't take chemistry. That's why I was able to go down. I was like the only guy I knew who didn't take chemistry. I realized at early age, like sciences were not for me.
Same.
I didn't take like chemistry or physics in high
school.
All
my friends were in science co-op, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna ever do that. Like, no thanks.
Yeah, and and my friend, he actually took chemistry as well, but he was just like, fuck it, I don't want to study for this exam. I'll watch Game 7 countdown. And he was actually going to basic training in Alberta.
Oh.
In a couple of weeks. So he was pretty much like, he thought he was tough. And I thought I was kind of tough too. He's like, what? This is good training. Like, you're in a riot zone. Like, how you gotta, this is the best training, real life training. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't want to be like a wimp and bail on you. I'll stay around.
So you stuck it out.
I stuck it out, yeah.
And what was the craziest thing you witnessed?
Okay, there was a number. I just remember people just drunk, pissed off people like would bump into each other and then just start fighting.
Oh my God!
They would just start scrapping it out, just like nonchalant, like shoulder check, totally accidental, just start fighting. Some guy was dancing on top of a porta potty.
Oh my God!
And someone like ran full speed, like shoulder check, like that. And like the guy fell off the porta potty off the top.
Jesus.
And also just like a random like running because someone would say like there's tear gas or something like that. They would just start running and you don't want to get trampled.
That seems fun though, honestly. Like part of it seems like the most adrenaline rush you'll ever have in your life.
Yeah, it definitely was. I would not recommend trying it again. I've learned my lesson. I don't think I'm gonna start. I just remember just like people just standing around watching the Blends coffee get like destroyed.
Yeah.
Like someone threw a chair through the window of Blends coffee and people are standing around like, oh yeah, this is actually happening.
Do you know what I remember that was really funny? I'm watching the TV with my parents when I got home because like I got home right when everything started really kicking off. And we're watching and they're like reporting and all this stuff's going on in the background. And somebody runs by in a tuxedo jacket from a place that I was working at the time. Like it was like the Style 800. It had the tag on the tuxedo. And I'm like, nice. That's the tuxedo from Black & Lee. Like somebody broke into Black & Lee. And the next day I had to go and clean up the entire store because I was one of the managers at the time. Yeah. And there was like piss everywhere, beer cans. Like, it was disgusting. Yeah. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Just destroyed.
That does not sound like a lot of fun.
No, I was.
You know what? My parents. I remember my parents being like absolutely like worried for me when I walked through the door.
Were they?
As they should be. Like I was downtown in a riot. Like that's not gonna.
We lived through the riot. We lived through it. Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty wild. Yeah. No, I was there.
You were there.
I don't want to. I just remember Game 7. Like we have a show. We have a rule on the Next Misconduct Network. No 2011 talk. Like pretty much, you cut anyone mentions 2011, you just automatically cut them off. We don't want to relive it. But man, like I just remember like thinking like that 2-0 goal. It's like And it's not happening for him tonight. And I don't want to. I hate that feeling looking back. Anyways,
No.
let's move on to the next topic. No more 2011 talk.
No, we're done with 2011. We're done with 2020. Let's go. Okay. So tell people, you just actually brought up another point that I want to get to right before we get into the two games that we're going to be talking about. Tell people about what you're up to. You have a podcast. Where can we look at all your stuff?
Two of them, actually.
Nice. Oh, the gambling one too. I need to listen to that.
It's free money.
It's
free money.
Oh.
Yeah, it's free money. It's literally free money. Remember, it's not the catch line is it's not gambling if you win, only if you lose. And we don't lose, so it's not gambling.
Yeah.
So it's free money.
So you called it free money?
It's free money.
That's perfect. Okay. And it's on Spotify and all the places?
It's on everywhere, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere. Just giving my picks out there. Just helping everyone make some money through these tough times. I'll admit, last episode was not very good.
No.
But we're going to bounce back this episode. Last week was not free money. We gambled.
Rebound hard, man. Rebound hard.
We lost and we gambled.
What was the losing factor?
What was the losing? How much did I lose by?
No. Like, what was it? What game that determined it?
Oh no, we were way under. We were way over. It was a multiple amount of games. Yeah, no, broke even on the NFL. It was mostly soccer that killed me. But anyways, yeah. Yeah, I remember at BC Sports Hub, this is an extension of my time at BC Sports Hub.
Yeah.
During BC, obviously, like all these big Champions League games happen during the day here, and I'm working, so I'd have to watch the games there.
Yeah, I know.
That was just
You get whatever emailing and stuff you needed to get done. What in that 2-hour window, 3-hour window,
and then 12
p.m. on, it was just watching soccer and screaming. I have a video of you still jumping up and down and going.
Yeah, that was. I remember that. I have that saved on my phone too. That was a parlay I hit like 2001 for one of the World Cup games. But anyways, yeah, I have a gambling podcast, but more related to why we're here. Power of the Towel, a Canucks podcast for the Next Misconduct Network. Just interviewed Carolyn Cameron. Interviewed Carolyn Cameron, one of the hosts of Sportsnet's hockey coverage. If you watched the game last night on Sportsnet, you probably saw her.
Yeah,
she was great to talk to. She was honestly awesome to talk to.
You've been doing some incredible interviews.
I've been
interviewed that was the best.
Who did I interview that was the best?
Yeah, or your favorite.
I would have to say James Duthie. James Duthie for me was a really cool one. I'm 26 years old. I grew up on TSN hockey coverage, and I actually talked about this with James Duthie. Is we don't really get to see much of TSN out here anymore because obviously Sportsnet has the national rights since 2014, and Sportsnet has the regional rights since I've been a fan. They've been 20 plus years. Sportsnet's been covering all the regional games, and Sportsnet has all the national games. So we don't see TSN out here much since 2014. Since 2014, but maybe you watch Trade Center or Free Agent Frenzy or whatever you want to call it for TSN. But we talked about that as well. We don't see much TSN, but pre 2014, when I was a fan, TSN was a big part, and James Duthie was the host. He was always on the panel, and to talk to James Duthie, that was pretty cool. That's probably my favorite. No disrespect to anyone else I've interviewed on the podcast, but
because you have amazing, every single week. I feel like you've had really great podcasts and really great guests.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We've been very fortunate at the Next Misconduct Network to interview some cool people. It's honestly mostly been me, to be honest. Because
I was going to say, do you reach out and do all that?
I just send out emails, and pray for the best. That's kind of my strategy. All it is I figured out not the URL, but how every Rogers and Bell email ends.
Yeah.
So I just kind of plug that in. That's all it is. I don't have some big Rolodex with contacts or anything. I just send out emails and hopefully they responded. Some of them have, some of them haven't. I'm not gonna say who haven't.
Yeah.
But not gonna do that. But Carolyn Cameron was really cool. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about and I'm sure you can speak to this as well, a double standard that women have to deal with in sports media and sports broadcasting. I brought it up with Carolyn Cameron. Google Carolyn Cameron right now. How Google says people also ask.
Yeah.
When you Google someone, 2 of the top 4 is Carolyn Cameron married, or some sort of rendition of that. It's no one's asking that about a man. No one cares if I'm married.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit.
Well,
So why is it?
you never know.
No, no, definitely no. Go Google any like male sports broadcasting personnel. They're not asking if they're married. They don't care.
No.
But apparently, like for someone like Carolyn Cameron, it's important. And she was pretty much like, yeah, sometimes it can affect you, but you can't let it affect you. And yeah, no, we talked a bit about that. We talked about what else? We talked about Pettersson versus McDavid. Obviously, McDavid's better. Like we can get into that if you want, but like every Canucks fan who's listening to this, search deep down within your soul. You know it to be true. McDavid is better than Pettersson. Yeah. Look, I think Pettersson.
You can't lie. Better. You can't lie. No. I mean, we're not going to lie to ourselves. You saw that game. We have
a saying on the network. We have a saying on the network: honest people, honest podcasts. Yeah. We have to be honest with ourselves.
Take the fandom out of it, right? We have to not always be a fan.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I get people online like to troll and say, Pettersson's better than McDavid. McDavid floats. But wait, and I made this point with Carolyn Cameron. Pettersson, I think, is a better two-way player, and he's probably pretty underrated in his two-way value. But at the end of the day, McDavid goes out and scores a hat trick.
Yep. Yeah.
Pettersson can do all the defensive battling he wants. You're down 3-0.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I know. You can't really argue that.
Yeah.
When you say it that way, it sounds so ridiculous that people would even...
The best way to compare Pettersson historically is to a guy like Pavel Datsyuk. And this is not an original example by me. I've heard it from a number of different people. It's probably the best one. Like, go look up. Pavel Datsyuk was a great player, and he was instrumental in the Red Wings winning the Stanley Cup in 2008 and being like one of the best teams of the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah.
But go look up his counting stats. He never had a 100-point season. He never had like a 40-goal season. He was just a really good two-way player. And that's probably like Pettersson's ceiling is like a guy like that, just like a really good two-way player. He's never going to put up McDavid gaudy like numbers. He's never going to put up like a 120-point season. Mm-hmm. But he'll be a really good first-line center for a very long time, which is awesome. But he's not McDavid.
I mean, this guy, okay, so Datsyuk, he had a 97-point season, two seasons in a row, 2 87-point seasons before that. And then, I mean, another couple, 70, 59. Yeah. He trickled off a little bit.
But he was never a 100-point plus player, right? Like he was never in the contention for Art Ross or like a Rocket Richard or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Pettersson probably won't be either. But again, if you could be like a prime Datsyuk, like that's an incredible asset to have in the Vancouver Canucks.
Of course. Okay, so yeah, this is actually going to get us into now our topics from the Flames. So we're talking about the Canucks versus the Flames. They got a 2-for-1 deal. They got both games out of us, which really sucks. I'm choked. We didn't even get one. Saturday was a shutout for our former goalie, which really just like stuffed it to me. That really hurt. It really hurt.
Yeah,
okay, so I didn't actually get to watch the full game. So let's hear from your perspective. What happened in that game? Where did we go wrong?
The Saturday game?
Yes.
Jacob Markstrom was Jacob Markstrom. And like, if you're a Canucks fan listening to this, that was a story of last season, right? They had games like this where they weren't really any. Markstrom is great. Thank you. He is great. Yeah. Markstrom is awesome. And that's why the Calgary Flames signed him, because they needed like a starting goalie to, prop up their team. Mm-hmm. But for Jacob Markstrom, that was his vintage Jacob Markstrom from last year. Like he shut the door, and you saw it on the power play. And I think that's one of the reasons why the power play. Sorry to get off track here, but the power play hasn't really been that effective this year. Is it looked bad against the Flames? Like Markstrom's been going up against them in practice for years. Same with Tanev. You saw it in that shutout loss, especially. Tanev was keying in on certain passing lanes. It seemed like he knew where the puck was trying to go before anyone else did.
He had 8 blocks, by the way. He got hit with the puck 8 times. Tanev did. Isn't that wild? He just took it.
That's Chris Tanev. He eats pucks for breakfast. Like that's been his MO since.
I miss him, man. Oh.
Yeah, no, I miss Tanev too. And look, I was one of those people who said when they signed Travis Hamonic on the quote unquote PTO, which was never going to be a PTO. Like I made this point. Like, can you call it a PTO if he never tries out with the team?
No,
I don't think you can call it PTO.
I got really confused when I looked up the whole situation, and I'm like, I don't understand how that's a PTO.
You never tried out with the team. They didn't set him on a PTO and said we're going to sign you like wink, wink, nudge, nudge
boom, boom,
to a 1 year, $1 million deal.
Yeah,
and that's what happened. And like,
but what's the benefit of calling it a PTO then?
You can bring him in, and it doesn't count against the salary cap because
That
the
is
only reason.
sneaky. That is so
See, like
sneaky.
it's a bit of a sneaky situation. The only reason they're able to afford a guy like Travis Hamonic is Michael Furlan got put on LTIR.
Right.
So they had, his $3+ million in salary cap space to sign a guy like Hamonic. But I was one of those people, and there was a few other people out there who thought Travis Hamonic would come in and replace Chris Tanev on the penalty kill right away, and it would be a seamless transition. Hasn't really looked at that a whole lot. And through these first 4 games, like special teams has been, I think, the big story, because the power play, I think, is going to get fixed in the next few games. They'll go back.
You got Miller back, right? I think Miller will really help that.
And you saw it last game against Calgary. Like the power play, it didn't score, but it looked a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the power play, I think, is gonna be fine once all those guys are back fully healthy, have a couple more games. Penalty kill, that's probably the biggest issue, because Travis Hamonic hasn't looked good on the penalty kill, neither in Alex Edler. And the old cliche is your best penalty killer is your goalie. Mm-hmm. And the Canucks let their best goalie, the best penalty killer, go to the Calgary Flames.
I know.
So it's a tough situation. It's a tough situation there. But special teams, that's been probably the big story throughout this season for me, more than a guy like Pettersson struggling is.
Oh, I know. I saw some of that.
For the Canucks to have success this season, the power play has to go back to being what it was last year, which is like one of the best in the league. That's what they need to do.
Fifth in the league or something, right?
Yeah, they're one of the best. They're one of the best.
They were incredible. I remember thinking like, oh, okay, they're doing pretty well. Like I thought they'd be somewhere middle of the pack, but when I saw they were 5th, I'm like, look at this. Like I felt so proud, and I thought that they were going to carry that over into this season, and it just has not been there, and it's it's devastating.
Yeah, and again, JT Miller being out for those first 3 games
really made a difference. Yeah,
I think the power play will eventually go back to being one of the best units in the league. It's only a matter of time. The penalty killing, that's a whole nother story. Again, they got to fix that somehow.
Okay, so that's a good point that you're bringing up right now. Do you think, because I've seen this going around today, do you think that the Canucks are in a slump at the moment?
Well, when you lose 3 straight, I would. That's a bit of a slump. Now, this season's a bit different, right? Like it's a 56-game season. You're only playing 6 different teams. More than any other season, I think. You got to get off to a decent start, or at least not shoot yourself in the foot to start the season, right? Because now you're looking at you've lost 3 straight after winning the first game in Edmonton. Now you're looking at a situation. If you want to, I look at this 2 ways. If you think you have a chance to win the division, now you're looking at a situation where you've got to win 2 or 3 against Montreal coming up, starting Wednesday. You play Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then win 2 or 3 against Ottawa, which I'm going to look it up right now. I believe they're playing at home.
They're
playing at home, right? Yeah. So you got to win 2 or 3 against Montreal, 2 or 3 against Ottawa, and I'll probably put you back on track to be on pace to win the division.
That's pretty brutal, man.
And that's if you think the Canucks have a good enough team to win the division. Now, early on, I think the 3 best teams in the Canadian division, or the Scotia North, as I like to call it, I respect the sponsors.
Yeah.
They paid good money. I want to see the NHL succeed. I want the sponsors to get their money's worth. So I call it the Scotia North.
You're sucking up to Gary Bettman right now, big time.
Hey, Gary Bettman, come on the podcast.
Let's go.
Let's go. But in the Scotia North division, I think early on the 3 best teams are, pains me to say it, Toronto, Montreal, also pains me to say it, Calgary.
Oh God, yeah.
Those look like the 3 best teams in the Canadian division. Now, the rest of the way, if you think those 3 teams are going to be a lock, now it just comes down to being better than the Oilers, the Jets, and the Sens for that final playoff spot.
Right.
If you want to take the quote unquote lazy way out and just kind of get in there barely, get that 4th spot, then that's the goal. You gotta be better than the Oilers, which have obviously McDavid, Draisaitl, 2 of the best players in the league, but they don't really have much behind him. And Koskinen, they don't have any other goalie besides Koskinen. He's played all their games so far.
Yeah. And
he's not really that good of a goalie. You have the Jets, who have a really good top line in Connor Scheifele and Blake Wheeler. Kind of like the Canucks, they have a really good top line and bottom line. Not much depth behind it. Their defense sucks, but they have a really good goalie in Connor Hellebuck. who won the Vezina last year, but you can't really rely on him to be at that same level last year. Be asking too much to repeat his performance.
Yeah.
And the Sens are the Sens. I think they're gonna be pretty pesky this year.
Browns is the Browns. Sorry,
yeah,
reminded me.
yeah, no, like they won't be like super incompetent like Cleveland Browns level.
Yeah.
They're gonna be pesky this year, like the pesky Sens. Like they'll be in a lot of games. They'll be like what happened today. If you saw the game, Ottawa and Winnipeg, they're up 3-2 late. They give up a late goal, and then Winnipeg wins in overtime.
Ugh.
Like they'll be in these games. They may not win all of them. I mean, for God's sakes, they have Eric and Branson playing top pairing minutes, and he has an A. And they're a really young team. They have Matt Murray, who was not that good last year for Pittsburgh in net. Like they're Ottawa.
Yeah.
Like they have serious flaws, but they're going to hang around. So for the Canucks, if you could be better than Edmonton, Winnipeg, Ottawa, if you could be better than them the rest of the way, that should give you a good solid chance at that fourth spot. And it seems wild to already think like, oh, Canucks got to hang on to that fourth spot, but
56 games, right? That's it this season.
They say about the season, usually it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a sprint this year.
It is totally a sprint. You have to hit the ground running right away.
You're only playing 6 different teams.
Yeah.
So, and plus, if you want to make up ground now, you got to win these games in regulation. No more 3-point games.
No.
You got to win these games. You got to win these games in regulation if you want to move up the standings later on in the season.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. It seems
wild. It seems wild to think about already that we got to talk about the Vancouver Canucks hanging on the 4th spot. Mm-hmm. But out of those 4 teams, I like the Canucks out of those 4 teams. Again, they don't have the top line talent that Edmonton does, but at least they have a bit more depth. Mm-hmm. They don't have the goaltending that Winnipeg has, but they have a solid tandem in Holtby and Demko. Their defense is definitely, I think, the best out of those 4, even with the flaws that they have. So yeah, and look, you know what? I said it before on Power of the Towel. My goal for this season for the Vancouver Canucks is simply to beat the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round. I just want to be the Canucks to continue that proud tradition.
Yeah.
Of beating the Leafs in the first round.
I love it. I love when they go out first round.
Yeah, in first round. I want
and it'll shut them up, and we can be like, okay, we are the better team, you know?
I want the Canucks to be that team. How many chances in the future? Because presumably after this season, the Canucks are, and the NHL in general, going back to their quote-unquote normal divisions, they're not going to have a chance to face the Leafs.
This is once in a lifetime.
This is once in a lifetime. And the Leafs annual out.
Yeah.
You have to. And again, if it's the 4-1 matchup, Canucks somehow go on a rapid tear, win the division. Maybe it's a 2-3, 3-2. I don't care. Just beat the Leafs in the first round. Leafs got Jumbo Joe Thornton. Come on, this guy's like 40 years old. And I get that he's like playing top line with Matthews and Marner and all those guys, but you can't expect Joe Thornton to be the big difference maker. On that team.
Not anymore. Maybe like in his prime, but not anymore.
Yeah. And the Leafs are like, even we said like the 3 top teams in the division, in my opinion, are Toronto, Montreal, Calgary. Like all those teams have flaws. There's no like Colorado, Vegas level contender in this division, right? You have Toronto, who have top end talent. They have a solid defense, but Mr. Kyle Dubas, as I call him, this guy's like the biggest analytic darling. Wonder Kid GM in the league can't figure out that Freddie Anderson is a shit goalie.
I know.
And he's going to cost his team another playoff series. And technically, the Leafs didn't even make the playoffs last year, if you want to be technical about it. Anderson lets in a bad goal every deciding game in the playoffs. It's uncanny. He sucks. Greg Adams goal.
Do you remember this?
I was 1994. I was born in 1994.
Okay.
I was born April 23rd, 1994. So I was alive. I was about 1.5, 2 months old.
Have you seen footage of it?
Oh yeah, the Greg Adams goal, great call by legendary Canucks broadcaster Jim Robson. But yeah, the Leafs are a flawed team. Calgary, I like Demko. No, sorry, I like Markstrom. Kyle, dumbass, dumbass dude. Yeah, he's an overrated GM. Calgary. Look, goaltending has always been the problem. That's why they went out and signed Jacob Markstrom. But I've always been of the opinion for Calgary, they go as far as Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, all those guys take them because they didn't really have that great of a year last year.
Mhm.
If they could be back where they were 2018-19, they're going to be a really good team. Montreal, I thought people were overrating Montreal coming into this season
I
because
did too, and I'm
think
choked.
about this. Think about this. They were the 24th ranked team heading into the bubble.
Oh
Any
my
other season without COVID, they are going on the quote unquote death march as we've been accustomed to in Vancouver, playing out the string. You got this whole debate online on whether you should tank. Should you win these games for the
Ugh.
kids? That would have been the whole
Join the
debate.
club with the 49ers Twitter. This is all they're talking about right
Yeah.
now. Ugh,
Yeah, that was Canucks Twitter for like 3-4 years straight.
that's so
Was should they
horrible.
lose? Should they lose? Should they, win for the kids?
Yeah.
Don't get that winning culture like thing.
Aw.
Have a great night.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
see you later, buddy. Yeah, and for Montreal, I thought they were overrated for that. Like they had a really good short sample size in the bubble. Wasn't sure how that was going to translate in season, but they look great. Those three games they played, they look awesome. A guy like Nick Suzuki is fucking awesome. I love watching him play. Even a guy like Josh Anderson, I know he's injured now, but brings some like toughness to that team. He's like an old school power forward. I know they gave him like some weird ass 7-year contract like right as they signed him,
Yeah.
but like he looks like a good player. So, but again, for Montreal, like Carey Price has not been Carey Price as we know him for the past couple of years. He's kind of regressed a bit, but he had a good bubble, which is why people are probably high on Montreal. And maybe they're right. I don't know. But again, like all the Canadian teams have flaws.
Yeah.
So
I think
possible
so.
it's possible the Canucks like bounce back and win the division. But if you don't win 2 or 3 against Montreal and 2 or 3 against Ottawa, it's going to be very tough to do it.
Yeah. No, I agree. So I follow Rick Dollywall on Twitter. I'm pretty sure you probably
I've
do.
had him on my podcast. Yeah, it's a great
Yeah,
guy.
you did? Oh, I have not listened to that one. That's cool. Okay.
Scoops. Great guy.
So he posted a poll. I don't know if you saw it, and the Canucks start the season 1-3. Are you concerned? Right? Basically, what we've
Panic
been
Button.
talking about.
I love Panic. I tweeted out the same thing. Panic Button talk. I love Panic Button talk.
Yeah. So
I'm all for it.
So
love it.
Listen, did you get to see the percentage? So
I didn't see it. No.
Out of nearly 6,000 people that voted, what percentage do you think said that they are concerned?
60%.
69.
Nice.
Like almost
Nice.
69. 69. So I was kind of in that boat. I was literally thinking the same thing. Okay, I'm concerned. But the way that you just explained it to me right now, and just saying that, you know what, at the end of the day, we just need to beat the Sens and the Jets and whatever and the Oilers, then we could actually still make it.
Yeah.
That makes me feel so much better. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, again, that's a
not
lazy way of
concerned.
looking at it.
Yeah.
That's a lazy way of looking at it. That's
But I
like
like the lazy
me
way.
writing. Yeah, that's like me trying to write a paper at the last minute in college. Changing the periods to size 11 to boost up the page,
Yeah.
like laziness. But if you think this team that has a legit chance at winning the division, then you got to start putting some runs together. You got to win 2 or 3 against.
Let this ball
Montreal.
rolling. Like, come on.
Yeah, you gotta flip the switch come tomorrow night.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we kind of talked about this already. What do you think the biggest issue right now is for the team? Would you say it's special teams?
Yeah, I think special teams is probably the biggest area of concern. Again, last year, the Vancouver Canucks, why they had success, they actually weren't that great of a team 5-on-5.
Yeah.
If you look at the advanced metrics, they weren't that great of a team 5-on-5, but they had a really good goalie in Jacob Markstrom, who papered over a lot of those holes. And that's nothing you can fix during the season, right? They have Holtby, they have Demko. They got to ride with those guys the rest of the way. And
Who
Jacob Markstrom,
do you choose between the two?
I think so far, like I was a big Demko guy coming out of the bubble. Obviously, I think he showed what he's capable of as a starter in the future, but I just don't think that Travis Green and the coaching staff really trust him. I think they trust Holtby a lot more. I mean, he was put in a tough situation that second game against Edmonton, second half of the back-to-back. Team's really tired. Team kind of left him out to dry.
Yeah.
I would go with Holtby, honestly, if you want wins right away. And if he falters, then you got to go with Demko.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a platoon system kind of the rest of the way. They're gonna kind of split the starts until one guy rolls with it. But again, none of those guys are Jake and Markstrom. So at the end of the day, like those guys are who you got to ride with. Special teams is something that obviously can be fixed with practice and schemes and everything like that. That's probably the biggest thing. Again, they were not that good at 5-on-5 last year, but they had a really good goalie. to kind of paper over those things. And that's one of the big problems the Canucks have this year is they don't have an elite goaltender like Jacob Markstrom kind of papering over those holes at 5-on-5. So their special teams have to be good.
Yeah.
And I saw a tweet from Jeff Patterson. The penalty kill has more goals this year than the power play.
That's literally the PK.
The PK, they have more goals than power play. Like that's just unacceptable. Like, the Canucks, if they want to be, one of those top 4 teams, they got to have a really good power play, and they have to tighten things up at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
That's just the way they have to play.
Okay, and then what about Petey? Are we concerned about him?
No, not concerned at all.
So he only has 1 assist right now in 4 games, right? So this is underwhelming a little bit for him. I would say I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned, but I do look
every
at him,
great player goes through these tough streaks. Like all these top players go through like 3-4 games where they're not really producing at the level that people expect them to. Like if the Canucks somehow go 2-2 or 3-1, you think people are talking about Elias Pettersson and his struggles if the other guys are doing it? But that's just the nature of the Vancouver Canucks right now. Like a Lotto line and like Bo Horvat and that second line, they really have to score for this team to do it, to go anywhere, because the bottom 6 just didn't cut it. Like guys like Brent Sutter, Jay Beagle, they're not going to cut it. They're not going to score goals for you. When you send Brandon Sutter and Jay Beagle over the boards, it's pretty much just don't get scored on. Just do not get scored on. Just don't get scored on, and buy some time for the Lotto line and the second line of Horvat to rest, and we'll get them out there next. That's kind of like the strategy of those guys. But again, you saw I read the quotes from Elias Pettersson after the game. This guy knows he's struggling. It's not like he's thinking, I'm just not getting bounces. He knows, and this guy's an absolute gamer. He's got that Mamba mentality. I'm telling you, he will be okay. I'm betting for a big homestand once he gets home against Montreal. He'll be fine. He will turn things around. And it's just very Vancouver to turn on this guy after like 4 bad games to start the season.
It is sad. When I see some of the headlines and some of the tweets of people just ripping, and I'm like,
people ripping him and doing all the, like this Twitch streaming and like trying to model on Instagram. Like, come on, like that's telling.
I know. Let the kid be, right? Like he will turn it around. I think so too. So can you talk a little bit about the slashing? Did we agree that this was a slashing call?
Yeah, like let's not be homers here. Like that was probably like a slashable.
But $4,000 worth?
That could be pretty dangerous. Like you gave him a good whack to the chest.
Yeah.
Like that was a healthy slash. That was a healthy slash, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Should I look it up? Should I watch it with you?
Go ahead, look it up. He whacks him on the chest.
Okay, so
I said slashable. I mean that's a finable offense for sure.
Where would it be, on YouTube?
I'm sure someone has a gif of it on Twitter. Someone has it.
I know, but that's a lot to have to look up right now, man.
Yeah.
Unless you can find it.
I'll try and find it right now.
Last night. This is going to be a race to who can find it first. See? No, nothing comes up. Oh, fine for slashing?
Here, I have a link right here. How do I send it in here?
On the comment section.
Oh, shit. I got to pop this thing up. Okay.
Who's on PD's line usually?
Brock Besser and JT Miller.
Oh, yeah, Miller time, because he's back. I forgot that. That's
a lot of line. A lot of line.
Why do they call it that?
Look up Haley. Haley Salvian. She works for The Athletic on Twitter. She has a clip of it. I'm watching it right now. He's kind of in the board battles and then like goes up and tries to slash Monahan on the in the chest, or he does actually, like right underneath, like right around here, right underneath the collarbone. So it's a pretty dangerous play.
Haley, what's her name?
Salvian, Salvin. I think she works for The Athletic. Calgary.
Oh, okay. Twitter. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna put this. Ooh, we're gonna share the screen and show everybody, so then they can tell us how they feel about this. Is it far down?
She tweeted 11 hours ago. So
okay,
this was it. Go up. That's it right there.
This?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's in the board battle, and then.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like that could be a dangerous play, right? Like it's right underneath the collarbone right here. That stick can ride up. slash him on the face or something like that.
Okay, you know what? I do kind of like his grit, though. That makes me
Yeah,
excited.
you could tell these last few games, like he's been pretty frustrated with how he's been playing. And again, Patterson's a
Yeah.
gamer, man. Like, I have no concern that Patterson's going to figure things out. I have like no concern at all. Like
I honestly, I look at him as somebody, like, I was thinking about this earlier, just with how people just look at like the quarterback situation in San Francisco, for example.
Yeah.
Like, they're so quick to turn on somebody if they're not there, if they're not present, if they're not winning those games. And it's just like, you forget that guy was one of the factors that brought us to a Super Bowl. So it's a much smaller comparison for Petey, because like, it's 4 games. He's not having that rough of a start. He's still out there. He's helping them make plays. Like, it's just not him that's getting the points, him that's getting the goals. But like, it's still only 4 games in, right?
People have short memories. People have
Thank
really
you.
short memories. Like, sports fans have very short memories, and we have to remember that this guy won the Calder, and he's one of the best young centers in the league. Again, he's on McDavid level. He's not as good as McDavid, folks. Hate to break it to you, but he's going to be like one of the best two-way centers in the league for a very, very long time in this league.
Yeah, I agree.
Guaranteed.
Okay, and so who are you most excited to watch this season, just all around for the Canucks roster?
I would have to go Quinn Hughes. I think like Quinn Hughes, like we had this debate with Carolyn Cameron on my podcast. Like it's a good sports talk radio debate. Like who's not the best player, but who's the most important player on the Vancouver Canucks? I said JT Miller personally, but I'm not really like, I think Quinn Hughes is a more exciting player to watch. I said JT Miller because you look at that top line without JT Miller on that left side, and Travis Green is forced to play a guy like Jake Virtanen up there, and Jake Virtanen, he's a good third line player at this point in his career. He's not going to be a top 6 scorer. He's a good third line player. You got to play. He was forced to play like guys like Tyler Mott, Adam Gaudette. He's really forced to really put that line in the blender when JT Miller isn't on there. And you saw the power play actually look decent when JT Miller was in the lineup compared to the 3 games before where it looked dog shit.
Non-existent. Yeah,
it was terrible. So I think JT Miller is the most important player on the Vancouver Canucks. I'm excited to watch Quinn Hughes, man. Like, the Canucks have never had a defenseman as good as Quinn Hughes in their franchise's history, in my opinion. Like,
I love the kid, man. Like, he's like one of the best players on the team, hands down. He's somebody I'm very excited about.
He's already in the conversation, in my opinion, for best Canucks defender ever. Like two full seasons in and a handful of games, back in 2019. He's already in the conversation for best. The Canucks have never had a defenseman who's Norris level caliber in their 50-year history. Like a guy who can potentially win the Norris in the future. So I'm excited to watch him. He's an automatic breakout machine. You watch him around the ice. He's dangling people. He's cool, calm, and collected. No one can get him on the forecheck. Like he's like a little water bug. Like he's just very cool to watch. Like Quinn Hughes is like going to be for most exciting players to watch throughout the season. It's got to be Quinn Hughes. Absolutely.
So, you know what? It's funny that you say that. Quinn Hughes had the most assists out of everybody on the team last year, right?
Yeah.
He beat out every single one of them as a defenseman. Isn't that incredible? Yeah. Like, it's just,
he's awesome.
This kid puts it all on the line. I don't know. He's
that first game against Edmonton, he assisted a goal on his ass. The assist. He's on his ass on the ice, and he flicks on his ass. Yeah. It's wild, man. He's awesome.
Highlight reel. He is a walking highlight reel, Quinn Hughes. That's what I like about the kid.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, okay, for me, I kind of went a different route. I'm all over Hoggy. Niels
Hoglander. Yes.
Yeah. Niels Hoglander. I didn't know how to say his name, so I wanted you to say it. Good. That worked out perfect.
I think that's how it's pronounced.
Okay,
that's how I heard how people pronounce it.
Hoglander.
Hoglander, yeah.
Yeah, because they have the umlaut.
He has the umlaut. You know what's weird is Tim Stützle, the German guy for the Ottawa Senators. He's going to have the umlaut. He has the umlaut on his jersey. He didn't play tonight against Winnipeg, but he's going to have the umlaut on his jersey. Why doesn't Hoglander have the umlaut?
He should.
He should, right?
For sure, he should. Like, you got to represent. Yeah. You got to put those little umlauts there.
I think, and look, there's tons of like Swedish players who should have umlauts on their jersey. They're just too nice to say anything.
Which is really,
yeah.
I know, and it just goes into and shows like Swedish people are just very nice and they just put up with it. Like I would be like, no, put the umlaut. Like you gotta put my proper
some
name
respect,
on there.
put some respect on my name. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
I
Like
what-
literally.
Like Hochlander's really changed things for that second line. And you look at last year, what Bo Horvat did with the team. He was a shutdown center. Like Travis Green hard matched him against all the top lines in the league, especially in the playoffs. He was tasked with hard matching, a guy like Ryan O'Reilly for a series. And with Hoglander on that line, it kind of screams to me that they're moving away from that and they're moving away from Bo Horvat as a shutdown center. And they want that second line to just go out and score regardless of who they're playing against.
Right.
And that's probably like a good way to play it. Like have two top lines that can score and have two bottom, third and fourth lines that can hold court, so to say, hold serve. So Hoglander is going to be awesome. He looks really good already, especially like in board battles. He's kind of like, he wears 36 like Jannik Hansen. He seems to be a worthy successor to Jannik Hansen. Just kind of like a good middle six forward. He's gritty. He doesn't take shit from anyone.
No.
He's not even that big. I think he's like 5'9", 2 something.
He's a little dude, yeah.
Yeah. But he's thick. He's thick.
Yeah, he's thick.
Yeah,
I'm excited for those guys. Okay, so that's it for us. Let's just give a little preview. So tomorrow is the first of 3 with the Habs, so with Montreal Canadiens. What are your prediction? What are we going to go?
For tomorrow's game or the series?
Series. Let's do series.
I gotta believe they figure things out. Like I read the quotes from I guess their Zoom calls afterwards, and they all seem pretty pissed off. And this is going to be my friend Kyle Bowen on our post game show, sipping on a 40, which I've been on it quite a few times, like throughout the playoffs. I'm going to be on it a bunch. Subscribe to the network. While I have everyone here, go subscribe to Nexus Connect Network. We pretty much have shows out every day at this point during hockey season. But he made a good point. Like, you try spending like 8 days in Alberta in January, like it's gonna fucking piss you off.
Yeah,
it's not fun. It's not fun. So like, I bet you these guys are super pumped to come home to Vancouver in their own beds, outside of like the winter in Calgary and Edmonton. They're there for a week, and it sucks on the road now to be an NHL player, right? Like, I don't know if you had a chance to read like their coronavirus handbook.
Oof.
For when teams
I've
go on
read
the road.
some parts of it, like just little bits and pieces, and I'm like, wow, this is insane.
Yeah, no, but it's pretty much when you go on the road, you're off the team charter, put on your mask, obviously, and then go straight to your hotel room and don't leave.
Yeah.
And then you leave to go to the rink. And obviously these guys are used to, I'm not saying they're going out doing nefarious things.
Being together. Just even being together.
I'm not saying they're going out like getting hammered before games or anything like that. But they like going to like nice restaurants and going to explore a city, just being on the road, and that's not an option this year. So, and especially in Edmonton, Calgary in January, like, there's not anything to do in the best of times. Like, what are you going to do and just stay in a hotel room? That must be fucking depressing as hell.
I know.
So I bet you they're very, very excited to be back at their own homes, in their own beds. I gotta expect they win 2 or 3 against Montreal.
I'm going to
Montreal's looked pretty good so far, but they played Edmonton. I don't think Edmonton's a very, very flawed team in this division.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Again, McDavid, Draisaitl, not much else in forwards, and their goalie's very suspect. So I gotta think the Canucks
ripping on him.
Yeah, Koskinen, like he's not a very good goalie, and you can't rely on him to play all their games. And Mike Smith's out; they're having trouble getting another goalie because of the quarantine rules. They're in a bit of trouble, but enough Oilers talk. 2 or 3 against Montreal would be my prediction.
Yeah, I'm taking it 2-1 for us as well. Miller time, I think, is going to make a difference. I'm excited.
He's going to be a big difference. He's going to make a big difference, especially on the power play and even 5-on-5 for the long line. People underestimate like how much of an importance JT Miller is, especially on that top line.
Yeah, they do. But he's going to show. He'll prove to everybody why he's there and why he's important. Okay, where can everybody go find you on all your social medias?
Yes. Okay. Twitter at Nick Bondi. Follow me on Instagram at NBondi. Tweet out both places. I kind of send out bonus picks for my gambling show. Yes, Miller time. Yeah, you follow me on there. Subscribe to the Nexus Connect Network wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever. New episode with Carolyn Cameron is out now. Came out this morning.
I'm gonna go listen to that after this.
Yeah, she was great. She was awesome to talk to. And yeah, subscribe to It's Free Money on Apple Podcasts as well. Gambling. We were 2-2 in NHL plays tonight. Honestly, I'll take it. I'll take it at this rate.
Yeah,
Just
that's pretty good.
breaking even is kind of making money.
Yeah.
not
Funny.
losing
You're not losing it, right?
We're not losing it. You know?
Yeah.
We don't lose. We only win. Losses don't count.
I'm going to steal that quote. I like that. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me tonight, Nick.
No problem. This is a lot of fun.
This was so fun. We'll see you guys after the Montreal series. We're going to wrap it all up for you guys with a nice little bow. So we'll see you guys after that one. Have a good night.
Peace.